In my last video, we ranked all of the dungeons in classic World of Warcraft from the worst to the best. So if you haven't watched that one yet, you probably want to go see that one first, but maybe you don't. But today, the Dark Portal opens and we are going into the Burning Crusade. So this time, we're ranking Burning Crusade, but this time it's going to be a little bit different than it was before. In Burning Crusade, there's a lot of places that are kind of like Scarlet Monastery or Dire Maul was in Vanilla, where it's one big place, but it's broken into multiple dungeons and raids. So instead of ranking all the individual ones, I'm going to be ranking them into groups. Some raids are alone on their own, but every dungeon is tied with at least one other instance. And I thought I'd rank it this way just so I could go over all the dungeons and raids together. And you know, I don't need multiple different rankings at different spots telling you that I think that different places are ugly, even though that they're like pretty much the same place. You know what I mean? And remember before we start this, that the most important thing in my rankings is my own personal opinions. So if you don't agree with mine, that's fine. Just don't be angry about my opinion, okay? And let's go ahead and start with number 10, the Coilfang Reservoir. Now this place is in the heart of the Swamp of Sorrows. Hey, future me here. I don't know what this guy was thinking. This place is called Zanger Marsh, not Swamp of Sorrows. That's this place. It includes 3 dungeons and a full raid, and by far these are the ugliest instances, maybe even in the whole game. I'm not even just talking about Burning Crusade. These could be the worst ones in the whole entire game. I hate this place. It's so ugly. The aesthetic here is just grossness. Now, if we're ranking all the places within here, we gotta definitely go at the bottom with the slave pens. This place sucks. It's very large. You do a lot of running around in this very massive place, and then the bosses are just basic enemies kind of, but big. Then we have the Underbog. And I think the level design in here is slightly better, and the bosses are a little bit cooler, but yeah, this isn't the best one either. And the last one and the best of the dungeons, in my opinion, is the Steam Vault, because you know, there's a lot of mobs at the beginning of this place, but the rest of it's pretty close together. You just go through it. And it sucks that the coolest boss here is a Gnomergon reused boss, but I like beating up gnomes, so sign me up for it any day of the week. And then we have the raid that's in Coilfang Reservoir, Serpent Shrine Cavern, and be ready for lots of elevator rides, walking around, and trash mobs. And because, well, it's the coolest out of all these places, because it's the raid, I'm still never excited to run any instance in the Coilfang Reservoir. Number 9, Gruul's Lair. Now this place is a short little 2-boss raid in the first part of the expansion. You know, you get the boys together, you head into this cave, and you kill this ugly dude at the end because he's got cool loot. Now I've seen this go both ways, okay? I've seen people beat this place one shot, no problem. I've seen people stuck here for hours and not beat it ever and it break up guilds. I've even seen people try this thing week 1 and they struggle on it for 8 hours straight, and then the next week they come in and they kill it first try. And I actually just really love this place. It's in the middle of the Blade's Edge Mountains, which I think is probably one of the coolest zones in the whole game, probably the coolest zone in the expansion. But there is just one thing holding Gruul's Lair back, and that it's just one raid with 2 bosses. There's no dungeons attached here. It's not a full-size raid. It's just very small. There's not a lot of content here, so it didn't feel right to put it super high up on the list. Number 8, Tempest Keep. Now, Tempest Keep is the complete opposite of Gruul's Lair. Instead of not a lot of content, I feel like there's too much. And I only feel like there's too much because I don't really like it. It's not really my aesthetic. This place is very sci-fi and fantasy, and this place really shows that the dungeons are really leveling up in what scale of fantasy they are. We're not in some low tier fantasy anymore like we were in the vanilla dungeons. This shit, we're practically in Star Wars when we're here. But once again here we got 3 dungeons and a raid. The dungeons, they're not really my favorite. There's the Botanica, the Mechanar, and the Arcatraz. I think I said that right. And they use a lot of the same enemies and assets throughout. And this place really just has that sci-fi space feel that, it's kind of cool, but it's not really my thing. The raid isn't the worst though, because the first boss in it, Alar, is really cool looking. And you can actually get it as a mount from the last boss in this raid, which is Kael'thas, who is one of the coolest enemies. That's one of its saving graces, is this boss fight, because you get to use the legendaries for it. You don't get to keep them, but you get to use them for the fight. And that mount. Everybody wants Ashes of Alar. Number 7, Caverns of Time. In the Burning Crusade, the Caverns of Time finally opens up, and inside we get 2 dungeons and a raid, and in these you travel back in time and relive some of the most important lore moments that happened in the past. The first dungeon we get is Old Hillsbrad Foothills, and in this one you get to see, well, Hillsbrad Foothills, but in the past, and you go to Durnhold Keep, which is this place in the game that you only have ever seen it as like destroyed and it's just ruins, but now we see it back in the day, and it's a slave camp for orcs and thralls there, and we break thrall out, and you know, it's fun. The other dungeon is the Black Morass, and in this one, you get to see Medivh opening the dark portal for the first time, inviting the orcs over into Azeroth, pretty much starting the story of Warcraft. And in the raid, Hyjal Summit, you get to play the events that happened in Warcraft 3, with the battle for Mount Hyjal and slaying Archimonde at the end. And I really enjoy these dungeons and places and, you know, the raid a lot, but I'm not gonna be a fool and ignore what's wrong with them. They're kind of boring after you do it the first time. The Mount Hyjal raid and the Black Morass dungeon, you just fight waves of the same enemies over and over again until you fight a boss, and then you fight more waves of enemies over and over, and then you fight a boss. And in Hillsbrad Foothills, it's kind of cool and stuff, but you're doing the whole dungeon at Thrall's pace, so it's gonna take pretty much the same amount of time every single time. You can't really go faster if you want, because Thrall's gonna go at the same speed every time, so your patience could run low. Number 6, Sunwell. The final patch of the Burning Crusade, we get the Sunwell, and this has both a dungeon and a raid. The Magister's Terrace as the dungeon and Sunwell Plateau as the raid. And I think the dungeon here is great. It's one of the best ones in the game. Cool layout, cool bosses, some cool loot. There's a mount, there's a pet. And Kael'thas, you know, we finally get to take him down because, you know, we didn't take him down the last time, but, you know, this time he's been doing a lot more crack. So we got to take out the crackhead. And the raid, it's pretty cool too. We fight the iconic Warcraft villain, kill Jaden in the end, and well, kind of for this reason, it's not that high up for me because this place, it just doesn't really seem like a satisfying end to the Burning Crusade. Like, it's cool, Kill Jaden's cool or whatever, but it just don't really feel like the end of Burning Crusade to me. Number 5, Auchindoun. I know I said that one wrong. All right, please, like, don't get mad at me in the comments. I know I said that one wrong. But I really love this place. It's 4 dungeons all in this giant abandoned place that's like almost a Colosseum looking thing, and it's destroyed, and it's like an old WoW vanilla dungeon because it's just an old abandoned place that's got some new guys in it, and we're going in and we're playing cleanup and we're taking the new guys out. Now 3 of the dungeons, they're free to enter right away, being the Mana Tombs, the Sethic Halls, and the Auchindoun Crypts. They're free to enter. Go ahead, get in there. But the last one, you're gonna need a key unless you're a rogue, and then you can just lockpick the door. And this place it's just cool. It's fun. It's a nice little labyrinth. There's nothing too grand except for maybe one spot that I'd say is a bit of a grand moment in a dungeon. But other than that, it feels pretty nice and chill to me. And in the Sethic Halls, if you have a druid friend, he can summon the secret boss, Anzu. And Anzu's cool because, well, look at him. He looks cool, and he drops himself as a mount. One of my fondest memories ever in World of Warcraft is being a kid and getting this mount. Number 4, Black Temple. Now, to me, this is the raid that feels like it should have been, or it just kind of feels like the final raid of the expansion. I mean, the last boss here is literally the guy on the cover of all the artwork, all the trailers. He's the poster boy for the expansion. Nobody really cared for Kill Jaden like that, all right? There's a reason he wasn't the one on all the covers. And I just feel like this place has got a lot of cool rooms, cool bosses, some of the best loot in the game, some of the best looking tier armor sets they've ever made. I mean, like, look at this set. This shit was so good they remade it too in Tomb of Sargeras during Legion. And you know what? Everybody loved it when they did that. Why did they stop remaking tier sets? When are they going to remake the Blackwing Lair set? Please, Blizzard, hello. Thank you, please. Number 3, Zul'Aman. Now there's no dungeons grouped up here. It's just the one raid, just 6 bosses. But this place is amazing. It's one of my favorite raids in the entire game. The whole zone looks beautiful. The design of this like whole troll city. The layout's cool. It's getting around is pretty cool, the layout. And the bosses are some of the coolest, unique looking bosses in dungeons. Like every boss in this dungeon is a unique looking boss. It's not something you're gonna see around the world somewhere else, just randomly in the woods. And the final boss, Zul'Aman, is one of the coolest villains in Warcraft history. Go look up his lore if you don't know it already, all right? I'm not going to sit here and explain all of it, but he's cool. And I'd say out of all the troll-themed dungeons and zones in the game, this one is definitely the best one. And Blizzard even encouraged speedrunning in this place, offering a unique mount for those who could get it done in time. And it's sick. This mount's cool. I wish I had the original one. Number 2, Hellfire Citadel. Now this is another one that includes 3 dungeons and a raid, and I think this place does it the best. I think it's amazing for early leveling in Burning Crusade because you can literally go straight to the first dungeon, Hellfire Ramparts, as soon as you go through the dark portal to start the expansion. This first dungeon alone is one of my favorites too. You can see the final boss flying around on a dragon as soon as you walk in, and then you work your way up the citadel to get to him, and the other bosses are cool along the way too. And if you use two-handed weapons, there's a sick polearm that drops at the end. But then we also got 2 more dungeons, the Blood Furnace and the Shattered Halls, and I love both of these dungeons as well. Shattered Halls has some cool bosses and loot, and the Blood Furnace has this final boss room that is like this giant ass room where you can see through the floor and you can like see this giant enemy monster, and you're like, what the heck is that? And you end up finding out that that is the raid boss in the area that's down there. And that leads us into the raid, which is called Magtheridon's Lair. And it is a raid, but it is just the one enemy. It's just the one boss. And it's a cool little thing just to wrap up this whole area that's like starting the game. And it kind of feels like a classic dungeon again. This place is also cool because Hellfire Citadel is a place that eventually we get to see in its prime in the Warlords of Draenor expansion. So if you want to go check it out, you can see what it was like back in the day and see it in its former glory before it became the shit show that it is in Burning Crusade. Number 1, Karazhan. And man, I don't even know where to start with this place. I love everything about it. The tower of Karazhan itself. This place, it was in vanilla WoW, just the tower bit. We couldn't go inside. There was no raid inside yet. But it's one of those places that just had all this mystery behind it because there wasn't really anything in the zone other than people hanging from trees, and you wanted to go in there. But it's one of those things that got put off from vanilla. There was a lot of things that got put off from vanilla. All of Outland was supposed to be in vanilla for some reason. But eventually Burning Crusade does come out and we get to go inside the raid. And you start in the basement of this place and you work your way up to the main floor. You listen to some of the best music in the game and you just want to dance along with all these ghost people and join them. But eventually you work your way up the tower and you get to this library and you're just like, yo, is this even the same tower we were in before? Like, this place, where are we? But yeah, I love Karazhan so much. You know, maybe the chess event isn't the best. It's cool in theory. It sounds like it could be fun, but it doesn't really play out that fun. But I like this place. And Gorehouse, cool. This was the first Gorehouse you could get back then. And I just might even say that Karazhan might just be my favorite raid in the entire game. But I'd have to think about that one for a while. And I can't wait for the new Karazhan Crypts raid that we're going to get in Season of Discovery. Anyways, that's my list for the Burning Crusade. If you liked this video, make sure you drop a like, hit the subscribe button for more. And I'm going to be doing this for every expansion, so make sure you're subscribed if you want to see more of that. And go follow my Twitch too. I might do some live streams here soon, and I'll see you guys later.